and welcome. This is Mary Ellen McGongle with your weekly MEM Edge show. And this is the show where we put you in front of where the action is in the broader markets. And another exciting week for those of you that are participating in this focused but healthy rally. So lots to cover today. Let's go ahead and take a look, because as always, this show is about helping you be prepared not only for next week but beyond as well. So we are of course going to drill down, take a look at where the markets are currently, and we're also going to take a look at analyst activity and what a powerful impact that has had. I've been following the markets for many years, and I haven't seen it as far as analyst upgrades and downgrades being so impactful. So we're going to cover that, and I'm going to share with you ways that you can stay on top of those upgrades so that you can take advantage of this unique period here in the markets. Also, earnings season is going to start next week. We did have a number of companies already report, so we're going to take a look at those companies that did report that are impactful, larger cap, and with an eye toward potentially getting a feel for how we may be performing going into earnings as these companies begin to report their numbers. So we're going to look at those that have, as well as upcoming companies due to report. And then IPO action, we talked about that last week. I'm going to share with you a couple of other insights because it really is quite telling. And we're also going to take a look at the move into financial stocks. And that, of course, was today. We'll take a quick look at it. Is that something that could be sustainable? So lots to cover. Of course, I do like to share with you some of the news and the headlines from this week, just to lay the groundwork, a little bit of frame around what is going on. And we do continue to hit a record number of new virus cases. We have those hotspot areas, and unfortunately, it is the spread of coronavirus is continuing. However, market sentiment is, for the most part, looking the other way. So we'll get into that. The White House did talk about an additional $1 trillion in stimulus funds, and they are targeting August as the release period for that. That's very bullish, the continued stimulus. And then also we are continuing to see those FANG stocks. We're going to take a look more deeply into that, but they are continuing to have very, very big moves. We did see a large biotech firm received quite a bit, 1.5 billion in funding. That is another area that boosted the markets, and jobless claims do continue to decline. So for the most part, market sentiment, investors are focused more on monetary policy, stimulus, vaccine findings, and better than expected economic reports. So for the most part, we can see the backdrop from that perspective is bullish. Let's go ahead, drill down, take a look at the broader markets. This is a daily view of the S&P 500. As usual, I've gone ahead and overlaid these simple moving averages, and I'm hoping that you can decipher. I will point out to you the primary characteristics that we're focused on, and that is the current position of the S&P 500 relative to these shorter term simple moving averages. And for my work, I have the 10-day simple moving average. It's green. This purple line is pink, is 21-day. 50-day is the red line, and then we have the 200-day is this blue line. So net, what we have is the indexes above each of these simple moving averages, and that's bullish during periods of market indecision. Certainly during down periods, the markets will find resistance at these shorter term simple moving averages. This is that period of indecision. Now more recently, we've broken back bullishly above. We can see the RSI is positive, as is your MACD. So we have a nice bullish backdrop for the markets. From here, what we can go ahead and do is drill down a little bit further. We want to see how the broader markets are doing but also pull the curtain back. How are these underlying sectors performing? Where is the strength in the markets? Because, of course, as an investor, you want to identify where that outperformance is, and then as with an eye toward participating in that outperformance. So here are the 11 sectors in the S&P 500, as well as that S&P. We're looking at a 2-month daily price chart. I've gone ahead and added that RSI, that relative strength indicator, descending order. I'm going to go ahead and update that because up here on the upper left quartile is your strength, where your relative outperformance is, and we can see it continues to be all about technology, the advances that are taking place among these technology stocks is really superior. It is keeping lockdown, quarantined individuals connected, workforces connected, as well as students. And so we can continue to see a powering higher. And of course, we are going to go ahead and drill down beyond that and share with you precisely where we are seeing that strength. XLC is your communication services sector, and this is going to be internet related, another area that is helping to keep people connected. This week, big moves in a couple of the heavyweight names, primarily Netflix. Big move in that stock this week, up 15%. But other drivers are also helping to push XLC up to the forefront with due to that relative outperformance. Consumer discretionary. Now, this may be surprising, considering that a lot of brick and mortar stores are back closing. Apple started that 2 weeks ago, as did other retailers. But this particular group is really finding strength, and we can see it's poised to break out of this nice 5-week base. And a lot of this is Amazon. That, of course, is the primary stock in XLY, consumer discretionary, but also online retailers in general, as consumers continue to prefer online as opposed to face-to-face. And in fact, for a lot of purchases, that really is your only option. So from here, we can just take a quick look and see financials. I mentioned to you they are starting to this today anyway. They did have a significant move. We'll get more into that as we move along, but down here in this lower quartile are generally areas that are going to be more economically sensitive: industrials, of course, financials, and so forth. So those are your weaker areas. Let's go ahead and drill down even further. And what we have here is a view of behind those sectors. What I've done here is populated this 2-month daily price chart view with several ETFs that are going to represent particular areas of the market. My work at MEM Investment Research is all about capturing and getting in front of high growth stocks as they take off. And we are in a period where that style of investing is really being favored, working out quite well. So let me go ahead and share with you some of the underlying areas. Again, we talked about technology, so we can certainly start there as far as where exactly is the strength within technology. So let's go ahead. This, again, RSI in here is an indicator, descending order, and we can take a quick look at this first ETF here. Ticker symbol is IPO, and as you can imagine, this particular ETF is invested in IPO stocks. And so I'm going to share with you as we move on, but it has been a fairly vibrant area. A lot of companies, actually not a lot, but relatively to earlier in the year, are coming to market. They feel that this is an ideal window to raise capital. And within that, there are themes that we touched on last week, and I'll expand again this week. IGV is your high growth software stocks, all about cloud computing stocks. Again, keeping people connected, storing that data up in the cloud for easy access. Big outperformance and continued bullish uptrend there. As we move on, another ETF that I put in this week is BOT. and it's actually global. It's robotics and artificial intelligence, AI, two very interesting areas. And I'll tell you, BOTZ, most of the underlying stocks in this ETF are international. They're global. That's where a lot of the really advanced, seemingly uncovering of innovations is taking place. So wanted to point that out to you. And then we can continue to move on and see also in technology semiconductor stocks. So a lot of those areas that I mentioned before, as far as data centers, bandwidth increases with 5G so that people can get their data while at home faster. And it's all about semiconductor chips that are powering all of that connectivity. So lots of areas there. And we can see that in a good move here. The volatility index is continuing to trend downward from this spike about a month ago. So that's a look behind the curtain, if you will. So what I did want to do from here, we have lots we can cover, but I'm going to start here with a view. This is again from StockCharts.com, and it's called a perf chart. You can access this if you go to your charts and tools. That'll be one of the options. You can populate this with any number of ticker symbols. What I've gone ahead here and done is shown, and I'm sharing with you, the FANG stocks that have now been advanced. It's FAA NMG. So in other words, what we have is more than just FANG, which it was several years ago. So up here, we can see it's Facebook, Amazon, Apple, Netflix, Microsoft, Google, and then the S&P 500. So quite simply, what I did want to share with you, this is going back over 90 days. So it's taking us back to actually prior to the market bottom. And let me see if I can reduce that a little, and you'll even see how even more dramatic this advance has been. But at the end of the day, what I did want to point out to you is the fact that the S&P is down here as far as its performance, and then we can see just this significant outperformance, and certainly of late. Back here in the early portion of that move out of the bear market, there was a lot more in the a lot less as far as the spread in the performance. But take a look, more recently it is broadening out and widening as we are continuing to see very strong money flows into select areas. This top stock up here is Amazon, followed by Facebook, Apple, and so forth. So these are your horsemen, your leading stocks at this point in time. So what I did want to do from here is share with you some of the dynamics that are taking place that could easily make a case for why these stocks are outperforming. Certainly, we can look at Amazon as an example. The stock has representation. There are three primary areas of revenue: are online consumer, online shopping. They also have a cloud-based AWS services that stores data. Very growth, a lot of growth there. And then also Amazon's streaming media, and they've just gone 24/7 with that, another big area of growth. So they are in a real sweet spot here, as are the other leading FANG stocks, are taking advantage, if you will, or are benefiting from this need for people and desire to stay quarantined. So that is one reason. Certainly we have to pay attention to the fundamentals, but I also wanted to share with you another reason. This will lead into our next segment, and what we are looking at here is Amazon. We can see the significant move the stock has had, but more to the point today is I did want to point out to you, this is FinViz service among many that provide you with, we're going to share with you other sites that will do this as well, but it's not positioned by stock. But what I did want to point out to you is take a look. This is analyst upgrades and downgrades, and we can see here very recently, hopefully you can see the dates here, but beginning in June, mid-June, late June into July, we've seen a lot of activity. Now, this, I have to tell you, is not representative of all of the upgrades that we've seen, but by and large, you can see the price targets continue to jump. And today, I believe Goldman came out as well, but 3,550 is one of the higher ones, but we are continuing to see these price targets moved up, and this is what is capturing among certainly the fundamentals, of course, but it is helping to propel this stock higher. So let's take a look. What I wanted to share with you from here is a couple of places that you can go to get that upgrade information so that you can stay on top. For those of you that like to drill down, a lot of these upgrades, sometimes they will be before or after the markets, and you can potentially take advantage of the upgrade situations, because I'll tell you, it is very moving as far as these different stocks. So let's take a look. This is Market Watch, and you can just simply Google Market Watch upgrades, downgrades, and they allow you to sort it by upgrades. In this case, they're providing us with the upgrades from Wall Street analysts. This is July 9th, and then it does go into July 10th. Now, this list certainly could be rather daunting, so what I'm going to do is share with you a couple of these upgrades that are rather eye-catching and give you a sense of how this kind of move can, in fact, foretell further upside. So one of the upgrades, or actually it was a price target increase, and this is Sleep Number, SNBR, and we can see the stock gapped up 13% on that price target. Actually, the analyst doubled their price target for the stock from 33 to 66, and we can see it did in fact experience quite a bit of that move today. But this is a gap up on volume, and from my work, those gaps up on volume that take place above these simple moving averages can in fact foretell further upside for the stock. Now, bear in mind, this company is due to report earnings next week, so you will want to keep that in mind. Let's take a look at another major company today. They had two analyst upgrades late in the day yesterday. This is JP Morgan, JPM, and we can see the stock is up 5.5% today. Now, this is not the prettiest of charts, but also in citing this and sharing this with you, I'll tell you, this is a number of bank stocks did get their earnings estimates revised upward today, and it was all about valuation. These bank stocks have really gotten beaten down. So today's move, as an example with JP Morgan, it did boost the price up above these shorter term simple moving averages. So similar to this period in late May, there is more of a chance that JPM could advance higher. It's above the areas of resistance, and today's jump was on very decent volume. You'll want to look for possible resistance at this 112. One other thing to keep in mind, of course, is as earnings seasons is beginning next week, JPM is going to be reporting. A lot of these bank stocks, they're the first to put their earnings out, but that move into these financials today was all about a valuation play, anticipation of decent numbers next week, and then also you can see that XLF, we did see a move into a number of bank stocks relative to that. This is the XLF financial ETF. So I did again want to just impart to you the fact that these upgrades and downgrades do in fact have a can have a really big impact. Let's take a look at a couple of other stocks, and then I will need to take a break. But these are other companies that did get upgrades today. CHTR, that's Charter, and we can see that it is up only 1.5%, but it did catch my eye because Charter had hit a new high. They are in the communication services, entertainment, cable industry, and we can see that this move today on that upgrade is helping the stock begin to form the right side of this base, poised to break out here at 550. The stock's at 538. And then the RSI is positive. We can see this MACD just having that bullish crossover, black line up through the red, and then moving up above that zero line. And one last area I did want to share with you, or certainly a location that you can find these upgrades, downgrades, is briefing.com, both of those at no charge. And they have their layout a little bit different, but it also has more information as far as price targets that, for instance, Charter, CHTR, was an upgrade today from a neutral to a buy. The price target is now at 600. So you can get even more information from, and maybe you can certainly search two of them, but it has been very impactful. Let's take a look because I want to share with you a stock that was upgraded on July 2nd. And we're going to take a look at the stock subsequent to that upgrade, just again to share with you how impactful that can be. This is overstock.com, OSTK. And back here on July 2nd, analysts did come out and they not only improved their target, their outlook to a buy, they also doubled their price target. So this is that first gap up here, OSTK. Take a look at the significant advance subsequent to this. It's up another 8% today. So again, this is the dynamic that that really does seem to be taking hold in this current environment. We're going to take a break. When we get back, I want to share with you earnings upcoming, those that have reported, and lots more. We'll be right back. During every bull market, there are a select set of stocks that far outpace their peers. They trade much higher and much faster than the rest of the markets. The reason? These select stocks have a set of characteristics that history has proven are common among big winning stocks. My easy-to-follow course will teach you the skills of a lifetime so you can learn how to uncover and then successfully trade these fast-moving stocks. Take my 5-part course now by going to MEMinvestmentresearch.com for this limited time offer. And we are back. So as we journey into this period known as earnings season, really it's going to be very interesting to see just how these companies do begin reporting. But what I'm going to share with you right now are some companies that have reported recently, and this is going to help formulate maybe a plan for you. I'm not a big believer of buying into earnings because of the volatility, but let's just take a look at what we can potentially anticipate. This is FedEx, FDX. We're looking at a daily price chart, and the stock, the company came out with their earnings a little over a week ago. And let's just take a look here because you can see this gap up in response to the earnings. It is really just base building following that gap up, but at some point when this 10-day simple moving average catches up, you can anticipate a potential another leg up. This company did come out with earnings that just blew away their estimates, and also the prognosis was brightened. So we could see a continuation of this type of activity. Let's look at a company that announced a little bit more recently yesterday. This is HELE, Helen of Troy. They're in the cosmetics, personal care area. And this is another company that came in ahead of estimates. Take a look at that gap up. And today it's not giving much back. It's down only 1%. Poised for further upside, huge volume. So we are seeing nice vibrancy into earnings season. PetSmart is another one. Now, the reason I'm pointing this one out is they reported today up 4.5%. But the earnings were below estimates. Analysts instead chose to focus on the improvement in revenues. So the stock did gap up. Now, it does look as to be exhausted as far as pulling back from that peak. But interestingly, the markets are rewarding some of these companies. We would be remiss to not point out one that faltered, if you will. This is Bed Bath and Beyond. They reported yesterday as well, stock down over 20%. And we can see this particular company, they missed on their earnings, and they also announced that they're closing over 100 stores. So not everything is bright and rosy. That's a significant drop there yesterday. So this is that volatility that I spoke to, but of the companies that I looked at and reviewed that have reported, it generally so far has been relatively bullish activity. So let's take a look at some of the bigger name companies that are due to report next week. This, of course, is a lockdown favorite, Domino's Pizza, DPZ. And we are seeing this a fair amount as far as this rally into earnings. They are due to, of course, report next week, but the move today pushed the stock up to this new high. So we have two other dynamics that are taking place. One is analysts are revising estimates higher going into earnings. That's a bullish phenomenon. When you see price targets improved, upgrades going into the numbers, these analysts have insights that average, for lack of a better word, investors might not have, so that by and large can be bullish. The RSI positive on DPZ. Take a look at this black line up through the red, indicating that this lengthy consolidation period may be behind us, but of course we're going to need to see how they report. ASML, a bellwether semiconductor stock, they are due to report on Wednesday, and we can see this is another one, analysts raising estimates going into their report. TSM, also semiconductor, Chinese ADR. This particular advance this week is all about the big explosive move in China in their markets. But overall, we can see the stock is a bit extended going into their numbers. But again, they are seeing their estimates revised. Let's take a look at some of these bank-related financial stocks that are due to report next week. This is Goldman Sachs Group. GS is the ticker. Very interesting. This is the stock's third attempt. We can go back here to late June, about a week ago, another period, and now today, this break back above these simple moving averages. It's a lot of noise in here. We want to see a decisive break above this area of resistance. But again, they are due to report on Wednesday, and a number of these are certainly bellwether. We're going to want to see how they come out. These are all going to be headline producing results next week. UNH is another one, a little flat here going into their numbers, but they are seeing estimates revised prior to the release of their earnings. One last name we can take a quick look at here is Johnson & Johnson, and this is very much in line with a lot of these big pharmaceutical stocks that are just languishing despite relatively good news. They have a hopeful the company's hopeful about a vaccine that they are developing. But I did want to also share with you, going back to April 14th, this is the company's Q1, the release of their Q1 earnings. Take a look at this gap up. Earnings were well ahead of estimates. So you'd like to look at precedent to see, certainly they're big in oncology and other drugs that are continuing to be needed despite this lockdown period. So I would keep this on your radar to see, certainly, of course, how do they report and whether they do behave constructively. JBHT is another company that is due to report. This is that phenom where analysts are raising estimates going into the release, and the stock is up about 7%. So keep an eye on that for those transports. I'm going to leave it at that. For those of you who have not already, I urge you, take a look at my MEM Edge report. You can use the button below to trial that. Significant outperformance, lots of great stocks and insights on the market as well. And please also leave your comments for those of you that would like to see other information shared on this show. I would love to hear about it. Have a great weekend, everyone. See you next week.
Hey, Grayson Rose here with StockCharts. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, consider giving it a like down below, maybe leave us a comment, and if you're new to the channel, you can subscribe at the link up above. We're gonna bring you daily content from an incredible collection of technical analysts and financial experts.